Hi, welcome to the Power Wheelchair Comparison, where we are going to check out the top power wheelchairs on the market today.
There's 50 million people in America that have a disability. 10 million of them require some type of assistive technology, whether that be a cane or crutch, walker, reacher, and out of those there's 1 million people that need some type of complex rehab technology intervention. So what I mean by that is powered mobility, rigid type chairs, specialized seating and mobility. NuMotion exists in that space. So we are a small subset of the durable medical industry that really focuses on the customers that require some type of more complex technology to regain independence.
I got in touch with NuMotion, and they sent someone out to evaluate me at my apartment, asked me questions about my daily life with a chair, and she took measurements of me in a seated position, asked me about how I use my chair, what do I use it for, how often do I use it, asked me some questions that I hadn't even really given much thought to myself. And it went really well, and I think I'm getting the chair that I need for my daily life.
So in a case where if we see someone with, say, a spinal cord injury, someone that's coming into a referral center and we're seeing them for the first time, we'll work with the clinician, we'll work with the medical team. We have a couple of hundred manufacturers in total that we work with, and we'll pick different pieces and parts from different manufacturers to sort of come up with the most ideal system for the end user. We, in turn, work with the therapists and the doctors to justify the clinical need for that, and then we go to the payers, submit that, and they pay us for providing the equipment. Often with new injuries, we see someone very, very, very early in the process. When they leave, lots of things happen. When you go home, you meet life, and your ability to transfer in and out of the wheelchair, the weight that you lost in the hospital that you come back on, and you've got good old-fashioned home cooking. Your size can change, your ability to transfer can change. If you suffer from spasms or some type of contracture, spasms, that type of stuff, that may or may not get worse. Skin integrity may or may not change. So there's a bunch of different variables that can happen from 6 months to 10 years down the line. And as that changes, the product can change as well. And that's where, for us, it's not only is CRT an important designation, but the people you work with is a very important designation. So we see more and more where people are going, they've been injured, they're going to hospitals, they may go into a model center somewhere around the country, and then go back home, wherever home may be. So it's when you're going through this whole process, you're forming a relationship with your physician, you're forming a relationship with your therapist, you're forming a relationship with all those people. It's just as important that you have a relationship with your supplier, because you're going to go home and you want someone that's got a large footprint so that wherever you go, if you go on vacation or somewhere like that, you're going to have someone that's there that you know is going to provide a good service. The same applies to if your medical condition changes. So when you go back home, if something happens, you want to know that you're working with a team of individuals that's familiar with you, familiar with your case, and familiar with the different options out there, so that if something does happen, we can adjust appropriately. We've got over 120 locations across the country. We're in 40 states. We've got 1,800 different payers that we work with. So there's a 99% chance we're going to cover the piece of equipment that's being prescribed, which is big. And then there's our ATPs themselves. So our ATPs have to go through a process. They're credentialed, and that piece of credentialing, depending on the schooling you enter to it. So if you come into the market as a therapist or an occupational therapist, you may have 1,000 hours of field training that you got to go through in order to sit for the exam. If you didn't come through with that type of background, it's 3,000 hours, that field hours that you've got to go through and be trained to sit for the exam. All of the people that are going to work with you to get you into product are ATPs. So they've all sat through that, they've all been credentialed, they've all passed their exam, and they all hold that certification. You get the feeling when you work with any of our team or you work with any of our people that it's really not a job, it's a purpose. And our people get very passionate and very personal around the people we serve. I just, a couple of nights ago, was meeting with a ATP, and he had a picture of a a kid he saw when she was 2 years old, and she just got her 6th wheelchair from him, and she was 24 years old. So these are relationships that go on, for a long, long, long time. And it's important to have someone that you trust and you can work with throughout that process. NuMotion has a few dozen people using wheelchairs working for us, and it's important because it provides us with a sense of perspective and a sense of personal attachment that I don't think you can get otherwise. It's so great to be involved with a group of people that not only is passionate about the industry that they serve, but that gives a sense of perspective of what they're doing, what they face from day to day, and how we can make that better, how we can create change, how we can, how important service is, how important them being able to get up, get out of bed, get in their chair, and get to work is, and what that means when there's a day or two delay, or when they're not able to get a part, or when something doesn't get funded. I think has really given our entire company a sense of kind of a peek behind the curtain that you wouldn't normally get otherwise. And they've been such a great contribution to the workplace, and they do so much to help us that we're trying to hire as many as we possibly can. What's important about complex rehab technology is it allows people to get back to living. It allows people to get back into the workplace. It allows people to be a part of their family. It allows people to go out and eat. It allows people to be independent, to stay out of nursing homes, to not have to have a full-time care attendant, and to contribute to the space around them. I think often when people ask me this question about people like Stephen Hawking, and they just did a great movie about him, and what he's contributed in large part, through the vehicle, through his speech generation device, through his ability to go and teach kids, and what he has given to the world, and how he's changed the face of the world because he can be mobile, because he can get around, and because he can communicate with people. And that's why CRT is important for all that, so that someone with a spinal cord injury can get back to work or back to spending time with their family, so a kid can go to school. For all those reasons, it couldn't be more important. The type of equipment we provide can be literally and metaphorically the vehicle to independence.
Transportation provided by Braun Ability. Locations provided by Illuminate Studios. The Power Wheelchair Comparison Web Series, brought to you by the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and Gold Pictures.